إيه رأيك؟ All right. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah. Right on time. So we will start. We were discussing about. We were just getting into like zones of geographical zones, right? So we had discussed about. We had discussed about a few things. Just we would just recollect quickly what we have looked into the last couple of days. We were talking about how. So we were first talking about soil in biogeography. And besides soil, some of the most important topics in biogeography include it's mostly is discussion on how animals and plants, or rather how living beings are distributed on the face of the planet. So for that, we have seen several reasons which mainly decides as to what or how these animals would be distributed. We had the environmental conditions, we had the biotic interaction where two species are interacting with each other, two and more species are interacting with each other. And we had seen the accident case. Then we are also seeing the regional cases whereby extinction, speciation, endemism, all those things we have seen. Okay, other speciation, extinction or endemism, extinction, and the phenomenon of dispersal also we have seen. Uh, Sometimes dispersal is facilitated, sometimes dispersal is not facilitated. You will be seeing barrier to dispersal. So based on this, we had identified again of two more things. That is, we had identified. We can see, the pattern of distribution can be seen in two perspectives mostly. That is first to do with what you call as cosmopolitanism, whereby a particular species is found across the face of the earth. We have taken the example of birds. Few of the birds, crows, are best example. And similarly, there are other the next one is endemism, whereby one species is seen in a few regions, maybe one region only. That is endemism. So based on endemism, we had discussed that this is provincialism, the idea of provincialism, provinces. The idea of provinces was that the species and their occurrence, mostly endemism, cosmopolitanism, if at all concerned, is not occurring randomly, but the endemism is found in few particular regions associated with it. And based on that, we have identified that Earth zones can be classified into different zones. Zone number one, zone number two, zone number three. Just like that, we can divide Earth into different spheres. So that's what we are looking at when we say biogeographical zones. Now, these zones are very important. All right. So we are also given a small picture as to what it was during the age of exploration. We can say the Renaissance. After Renaissance, the age of exploration began. In the sense that you can look at roughly the 14th, 15th, 16th centuries of Europe. So people ventured into new lands. So till that point, the known world included Eurasia and Africa. The other continents were not known to mankind. So the age of exploration will led to exploration of different areas which was earlier not seen, and thus led to contact with wide variety of living beings. So new kind of trees, new kind of organism, etc. can't be seen. So one thing that identified was, so there was the old world and there was a new world. So new world obviously included the Americas, mostly South and North America. So something that was identified was that this old world was entirely different from new world, especially so in the case of animals. So some of the geographers of that period, geographers or like what you call as explorers at that point of time, remarked that the new world is basically very different from old world in the sense that most of the animals that is seen in old world, mostly mammals, are not at all visible in the new world, right? So ഓൾഡ് വേൾഡിലുള്ള ആനിമൽസ് ഒന്നും തന്നെ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ രണ്ടിടത്തെ തമ്മിൽ ആനിമൽസ് തമ്മിൽ ഒരു സിമിലാരിറ്റി ഇല്ല, രണ്ടും വളരെ വ്യത്യസ്തമായ സ്ഥലങ്ങളാണ്. So ഈ ബേസിസിലാണ് there came to be a conclusion that world can be divided into different zones. So there could be a floristic zonation and there could be faunistic or zoogeographic zones. So based on that, these two ideas were separately developed. So faunistic zone was developed first by geographer known as Philip Sclater. So there was other people who were involved in the process before that, but a considerable good what classification worth speaking about was given by Philip Sclater. He divided the world into two worlds, that is the new world and the old world. Okay, so this included several regions. For example, several names were there given. New world. Now, first of all, we'll just study the evolution of how these findings have evolved over a period of time, and then we'll see into the specifics of each of these words. So, in old world, he talked about the Paleo-Arctic. Some of the names included Paleo-Arctic, which is the Europe area, the Ethiopian realm, that is Africa, and the Indian realm. A new world comprised of, in his classification, was comprised of Nearctic, Neo-Arctic, and Neotropic. Okay, tropic. Arctic refers to the temperate and polar lands of the world. So Arctic, two Arctics are there. One is the Neo-Arctic, which is the North America. The Paleo-Arctic, which is the South America. Paleo-Arctic is the Eurasia, and the temperate and polar part of Eurasia. Then you have the Ethiopian, that's the African part, the Indian realm, that is again the tropical part, and the Neotropic. So this was the classification that was undertaken. Now this particular was carried out on the basis of birds distribution of birds across these regions. So this has in fact proved to be one of the basic classification on which the later people would classify and understand the distribution of animals in the world. Now, this was again later modified by somebody called as Alfred Wallace. Now, Alfred Wallace modified this one, basically more or less the same. The regions remained the same. Okay, so he added Australian realm into that, but he used it based on the idea of mammals. So the modified Sclater model that is provided by Alfred Wallace became the foundation for zoogeographic zones of the world. So this was the classification that was given by Sclater, or rather Wallace, by modifying Sclater's idea. So one thing he was brought in was the idea of Australian realm, and then remains the same, the Ethiopian one, the Neo-Arctic, Paleo-Arctic. Paleo means what? Paleo means old, Neo means new. So the new world, the old world, the Neotropic, Ethiopian, and the what do you call as the Oriental world. So he gave the name Orient. So Oriental. So this was the classification that was put forward by Alfred Wallace. Then later people went on to modify the identification he has made. Few people supported his idea, few people opposed his idea. Okay, so this has basically remained the the phonistic zone or the zoogeographical zonation of the world, classification of the world, which was arrived by Wallace. So identifying few couple of regions, Paleo-Arctic, the temperate region and its related fauna. Oriental and Ethiopians are two regions which are tropical in nature, but are separated by, say, the Saharan deserts and the rest of the deserts. So these two desertic regions would be acting as boundary or a transition zone between these two regions. But nevertheless, because these two were connected by land, you have some kind of similarity can be seen. For example, elephant can be seen in both parts of the world. Similarly, cheetah could have been seen in both parts of the world. Now not there in India, but still was seen. Lion is seen. Right. So, but if you look at again, if you look into neotropical, you will not see any of mammals there. But very few mammals are there. That is of lower order. Some monkeys are there. That's it. Or apes are not there. Higher order primates are not there. Lions are not there. So you have a stark difference between these two ones. So this will be what we are going to study in the coming discussion. So we'll just read a few words about the classification done by these two people. Okay. So evolution of zoogeographical zones. By 19th century, it was clear that it was clear that the land surface was divisible into biogeographical regions, each of which carries distinct set of set of plants and animals. Okay. Geographers like Comte de Buffon studied the distribution of plants and animals. Study the distribution of plants and animals from the old world and the new world, old world Africa and the new world South America. And found that opined that and commented that will be nice and commented that not a single species is found to be in common between the two realms. Okay. Now we look at one of the milestone. One of the most important classification was provided by Philip Sclater in 1850s. Okay. Based on the distribution of birds. So his classification need to be written. Like please write this classification. He classified the world into two parts: the old world and new world. Here, Australian also into this. Australian was also there. Okay. So I think we have written this one. In 1870s, Alfred Wallace in his book The Geographical Distribution of Animals argued in favor of adopting the Sclater's system with minor amendments. Sclater system with minor amendments. So you have to draw this diagram. Please draw this diagram with minor amendments. Now the lines that I've drawn are the boundaries of this Sclater system. Another wireless system. Okay, these lines are the boundaries that demarcates the different regions. Differentiates between the different regions. Fine. So within this region, he gave identified the subregions within that. For example, the Palearctic had the North European one, the Mediterranean one, the Siberian one, the Manchurian one, etc. So we are not supposed to study into the subregions of this particular topic. We just have to identify the main region. And once we done discussing the evolution, we'll look into the what do you call as the major regions as such and regions and the characters. Fine. So one sentence we will write after I think you completed the map, right? Map okay, fine. So he also identified sub-regions within the regions within the realms. So he called these realm, not regions. He called them, identified them by biogeographical realms, right? Paleoarctic realm, Neoarctic realm, Neotropical realm, right? That's how he went about it. So while making the classification, he also identified what subregions within a particular realm. For example, in the Paleoarctic comprised of North Europe, Mediterranean, Siberian, and Manchurian regions. There would be differences between these two realms. So, for example, if you look at Mediterranean, would be വലിയ organisms ഉള്ള സ്ഥലമല്ല because they have shrubs land there. You have more grazing animals like mostly cattle would be found there, rabbits, etc. would be found there. Whereas Siberia, it's an icy region, permafrost region, you will find a different kind of animal assemblage, right? Then during the 19th and 20th centuries, the wireless system or the classification was widely adopted and constituted the standard system, especially for vertebrate taxa. See, these are mostly about vertebrates. Vertebrate item pathogens അല്ലെങ്കിൽ microorganisms നെ കുറിച്ചൊന്നുള്ള classification അല്ല. It's all about the bigger organisms, vertebrate man, mostly the vertebrates. Although there were some modifications, so we'll look at few of the modifications which will give us like a fair idea. Some terms are there. UPSC sometimes ask like what Notogia, Neogia. So different names were proposed by different geographers. These are the same thing that we are going to study, but different names were proposed at some time. So we'll just get familiarized with familiarize ourselves with those couple of names. That's it. That's much we are required to look into. Okay. So some modifications were proposed. Now the first one, first such paper we will study is that in 1887, somebody known as Halpin proposed that Neo-Arctic and Paleoarctic both are So just write that. So Hailpin considered more appropriate to unite. Hailpin considered it is more appropriate to unite Neo-Arctic and Paleo-Arctic regions into a single region, Holo-Arctic. Although he didn't post the name, I guess. So even if you look at plant floristic kingdom, the entire North America and the Paleoarctic and Neo-Arctic are together considered as one system, that is a boreal system. And similarly here also the assemblage of plants and animals are mostly similar. So he was of the idea that this is a single, this can be considered as a single zone rather than classifying into two. Another one in 1954, this is more important. Geographer called Schmidt. He proposed a few different names. Okay, that's what we have to see, that he rearranged the world into Arctogean kingdom, Neogean kingdom, Notogean kingdom. So that's the differentiation he has brought in. Now, what is this Arctogia, Neogia, and Notogia is what we have to see. Now, he rearranged the Nearctic, Paleoarctic, and Ethiopian and Oriental regions into Arctogean kingdom. He rearranged the Neo-Arctic, Paleoarctic, what do you call the Ethiopian and Oriental into the Arctogean realm. Okay, Arctogia, a pair orthirikande. Then he gave another name to South America, that is Neogean kingdom. Okay, Neogean kingdom, and he gave the name, this is South America, and he gave the name Notogia or Notogean kingdom to Australasia. Okay, so this is a new system, or a modified system proposed by Schmidt. He was changing the names for the sake that Arctogia he considered to be one single unit, because mostly it was a single unit. So he considered that they all can be clubbed because they all have been. So in fact, the reason is that all these regions were interconnected by land. Even North America and Eurasia was interconnected during the Ice Age period, and it's been a Ice Age into question. So there was like large transition of animals between these two regions. Okay, so that is another one that is proposed by one. So Arctogia can also be mentioned as Megagia. So another name, that is, I'm not going into that particular geographer here. You can use the name Megagia for again the same region. It refers to the same part, Megagia. Okay, so ഇത്രയും locations അറിഞ്ഞാൽ മതി. നമുക്ക് ആ പേരുകളൊക്കെ ആയി. Megagia, Arctogia, Neogia, Notogia. So I think Notogia കുറിച്ചായിരുന്നു തോന്നുന്നു UPSC ഒരു പ്രാവശ്യം ആ പേര് അതേപോലെ തന്നെ ചോദിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. Notogia ഏതായിരുന്നു ചോദിച്ചു. So if you know Notogia is Australia, then we will study what the Australian realm looks like. Okay, now this much is there for faunistic regions. Now we will see the different regions which are there. So നമ്മൾ എന്താണ് പഠിച്ചത്? Basically Wallace's system ആണ്. Wallace has this system, and we are going to look into the Wallacean system and see how different regions are there. What is the difference between each of these regions? Oro region the uniqueness, mostly our uniqueness namakkonnu padikkanam. That is what most important to us. Okay, so we'll have to write a few things again. The faunistic regions are primarily identified based on this system of faunistic classification of faunistic regions is primarily based upon mammalian families or mammal families found across the world. Based upon mammal families found across the world, because the continents of South America and Australia got separated from other continents, in early Mesozoic period. In the early Mesozoic period, and have developed unique characteristics of mammalian fauna. So that's the reason why, because they were, see, is isolation or lack of dispersion. So here what we see is that between the two regions of Neotropic and the old and new world, transition or dispersal of species are very difficult, very limited. So because of the Atlantic Ocean here, so that will lead to what the formation of endemic species, a very characteristic and unique assemblage of fauna. Now, South American uniqueness was diluted later. The South American uniqueness was diluted later as a result of the development of the isthmus between Panama Isthmus between North America and South America. Isthmus region which is connecting two large land masses, a narrow strip of land which is connecting two large land masses. So earlier these two continents were not together, North America and South America. Later they collided and the development of Panama Isthmus has happened. That allowed species from North America to travel to South America. But then again few changes happened, but still that was there. Land connection of through Panama Isthmus with North America. The Palearctic, Ethiopian and Oriental realms are the Palearctic, Ethiopian and Oriental realms are attached to each other through land. Attached to each other through land. However, the intervening land has more. Barrier type of effect. Due to the presence of landscapes like the Sahara, Arabian deserts, and the Himalayan mountains. Okay. In fact, if you consider the other two regions, Palearctic and Neoarctic, in fact, Palearctic and Neoarctic realms were connected throughout connected to each other throughout Palearctic and Neoarctic was connected throughout much of the Mesozoic and Cenozoic geological periods. and Cenozoic period, and has resulted in development of similar fauna between them. Okay, so that's basically the assemblage. We have a couple of families, realms now we have to look into. That is, we look into Australia, we look into Neotropical. These are the two most important geographical regions, so geographical regions, because of the fact that that is widely different from, there is more uniqueness. There is more uniqueness to do both the Australian and Neotropical realm. Then we'll also take into the North American. So that is the Neo-Arctic, Neo-Paleo-Arctic, Ethiopian, and the Oriental realm. So the features of these 6 realms need to be seen. We have to identify how the animals are, distributed in this region, and what is the difference between. Mostly, when you talk about Australian and the South American, that is the Neo-Arctic realm, we have to see the uniqueness of the region, the different type of. Okay, so if I get to give a framework, there is uniqueness. What is unique about this particular region? Why uniqueness? Uniqueness on that. So there is a geographical explanation to that, historical geographical explanation to that. Why uniqueness? Forms of uniqueness. So the distribution of the different distribution of animals in that region. So we have to see how mammals are distributed, how reptiles are distributed. That's by studying this much, we will be able to understand a particular region. Now let's take first jump into the Australian realm. Okay, so thing with Australian realm is that the Australia, Australia, example, they have kangaroos or marsupials. Marsupials are the most complex and largest mammals present in Australian realm after human beings. So if you exclude human beings, then the mammal or the animal assemblage in Australia is not very not of the higher order, but primitive organisms are found. Now, why that question arises? Because earlier all these continents were part of a single continent, that is the Gondwana land. After the split of Gondwana, Australia was with Australia plus Antarctica plus South America was together. Then Australia split from them. So Australia and Antarctica was together in the polar region, right? So then they were also having relatively warm climate because of the presence of several reasons. Warm climate was there. So Australia was a fairly very, what do you call as, biodiverse or bio-rich area. When it was with Antarctica, there was cold currents encircling it, so it was rich. Then it got separated from Antarctica. It got separated from Antarctica, and it started to move away from Antarctica towards the equatorial region. From the southern hemisphere, it started moving towards its current region. So this was like warm climate, good precipitation, biodiversity rich region. From that, what do you call as, it moved away, and it moved away. As it moved away, it came under the influence of cold current. Now, if you look at the region of Australia today, you have the West Australian current, which is a cold current. You know that, right? So it moved away and it became more of an arid landscape. It became an arid landscape, right? Australia desert. Despite what we see, Australia, the major area of Australia is a desertic landscape. So with aridity, the quality of vegetation declined. The temperate forest decline, it developed into sclerophyte. Sclerophytic vegetation, which is found in, and then sclerophytic is a form of xerophytic vegetation. Which xerophytic in the sense that എന്താണ് എവിടെയാണ് കാണുന്നത് arid ആയിട്ടുള്ള water stress ഉള്ള regionsലെ crops treesനാണ് നമ്മൾ sclerophyll എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. So it developed into that part sclerophytic vegetation, which also had allelopathy. Allelopathy is a property that the poisons what secreted by plants. Because of this, no higher order carnivores. Okay, there is not much food to eat. So, and as it went about, the aridity increases. Most of the area became desert. So, the Australian landscape became very much desert. Only in the eastern part of Australia. So, if you look at the population of Australia, there is the Great Dividing Range. Great Dividing Range. So, to the east of that, you have green, rich, lush region, green lush region, but the other parts are basically arid desert. So, this basically led to such a particular situation in Australia where we see today's what you call as its animal assemblage. It is characteristic of the geological path Australia has traced through, right? So, because of absence of good vegetation, there is general absence of high mammalian or high biodiversity, just like the other, unlike the other parts of the world. So that's what we see. Okay, so some of the most of the higher order organisms are marsupials. There is marsupial opossum, there is kangaroo, there's something called monotremes. So few names have to be studied in this case. We'll see that as we dictate. Okay, so Australia വളരെ പ്രത്യേകതയുള്ള സ്ഥലമാണ്. കുറെ ഓസ്ട്രേലിയയുടെ തന്നെ സ്പെസിഫിക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള കുറെ സ്പീഷീസുകളുണ്ട്. അതാണ് ഒന്ന് കങ്കാരു, നമുക്ക് ഏറ്റവും അറിയാവുന്ന കാര്യമാണ്. അതുപോലെ മാർസൂപ്പിയൽ ഒപ്പോസം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു സാധനമുണ്ട്, വിച്ച് ഇസ് അഗെയിൻ ഒരു ടൈപ്പ് ഓഫ് മാർസൂപ്പിയൽ, വിച്ച് ഇസ് മാർസൂപ്പിയൽസ് ആർ ഹൂ ബേസിക്കലി ക്യാരി their younger generation or young ones in pouches. So നമുക്ക് gestation period ഒരു വർഷം ഉള്ളപ്പം mostly in mammals like human beings, the young ones grow in the womb of the mother, right? So in this case it is grown in the pouch like thing. So that's the difference. So we'll write a few things about that. Okay, Australia was attached to Antarctic continent for a long part of the Mesozoic period. Australia was attached to the Antarctic continent for a long period of time, where it received warm climate and good precipitation. And the reasons like warm current and good precipitation. However, later Australia began to drift away from Antarctica. From Antarctica, which led to change in climate from humid to arid conditions. Which led to change of Australian climate from humid to arid conditions. As a result of this, the vegetational makeup of Australia would have changed. And was occupied by sclerophyllous vegetation. Which discouraged the development of herbivores because of its allelopathy characteristics. So allelopathy is when it's again a form of defense, behavioral adjustment by plants when in regions of shortage of resources, water and fertility perhaps. The plants will produce poisons within the leaves and their fruits so that the other species does not eat that. So that means what? There is not much of food to eat, and this will you know this would prevent the evolution of more and more species. So that has happened in Australia. Specialization discourages the development of herbivores. Later, in the Cenozoic period, the Australia would have reached the tropics. Australia would have reached the tropics where the Great Dividing Range, where the presence of Great Dividing Range would have converted Australia into large part of Australia into desert. So if you look at it, the eastern part has been converted into, sorry, the western part has been converted into desert because of the Great Dividing Range. As a result, the vegetation was replaced by xerophyte plants, more water shortage, that is xerophyte plants, like acacia. So, desert xerophyte plants like acacia. Such a biome would not have allowed the development of rich mammalian fauna. As a result, we find Australia to display uniqueness in terms of faunal family, the faunal or the animal present there. Mammals found in Australia has arrived in basically different stages. So we can just write a few about the different phases in which mammals have arrived. Mammals found in Australia arrived at different times. Mammals found in Australia arrived in different times and speciated the continent. Speciated the continent into its present diversity. Okay. Phase 1, about 110 million years ago, monotrems has arrived during this period. Just on Google monotrems figure image monotrems have arrived in this period, and some organisms like duck-billed platypus is still found to be present in Australia. Some of the monotrems, rarely do monotrems found in other parts of the world. So Australia right. Phase 2 has seen the arrival of marsupials about 55 million years ago. The marsupials are the ones which are dominating the landscape of Australia even today. The animals, larger animals. In the phase 3, about in the Pleistocene, rodents arrived to Australia. So these are very late phenomena because in other parts of the world, rodents have arrived much earlier, right? And the oncoming of higher order mammals would have replaced the other marsupial. Marsupial organism better evolved mammals are okay mammals, no higher order mammals. So that would have replaced marsupial, but because there is a huge barrier to travel, the new complex mammals are not coming to primates are not coming into the Australia. So that's why they are retaining that marsupial diversity. So about 40,000 years ago, human races came to Australia. Okay, and phase 5, white settlers. These were the aboriginals, and these are the white settlers that came to Australia. So that's when a huge change has happened. Okay. ഇനി നമുക്ക് കുറച്ച് categories കാണാം. So as far as higher order mammals are concerned, only bats and rodents are found. Higher order mammals are concerned, only bats and rodents are found in Australia. No other higher order mammals groups are found except for humans. Now there is difference because they are brought in what dogs, humans are brought in. So all kind of animals can be brought in. So that's not speaking. We are basically talking about the natural landscape of Australia. Okay. It is also characterized by the presence of marsupials and monotremes. Marsupials like kangaroo dominate the Australian landscape. Another marsupial is opossum. So we need to study these factual words for this part of the syllabus. As for the birds diversity, as for birds in Australia, majority of birds in Australia are cosmopolitan birds. Yet some unique bird species are found. Unique bird species are found, like the paradise birds. Honeysuckers, etc. Paradise birds and honeysuckers. So two names are enough. So basically, the uniqueness of a particular region, Australian. So we have to write about their history, obviously the uniqueness of the history and the flagship species, two stark difference, and then you go about writing a few talk about the endemism, how endemic, what is endemism level with respect to mammals, with respect to birds, if that is all cosmopolitan or endemic. Other animals, Australia is bound in reptiles. So we will look at mammals, reptiles, rodents at some point of time, birds we have to see, insects we have to see. Okay, so usually birds, insects, reptiles are found across the zoogeographical zones, and mostly all regions have fair bit of these animals. So anyway, we'll write Australia is bound in reptiles, it's rich in reptiles. Various different species of lizards and snakes are found. Although rich in insecta variety, although Australia is rich in insecta variety, much of these insecta families are shared by the Oriental realm. They seem to have dispersed to Australia from the Oriental realm. They seem to have dispersed to Australia from the Oriental realm through the stepping stones of Indonesia. Those stepping stones of Indonesia. So I think that much can be remembered about Australia. കൂടുതൽ പേരുകളുടെ ആവശ്യമില്ല. This much of enough. Couple of species in the names ചെയ്യാൻ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്. Kangaroo. As for like പിന്നെ പൊതുവെ രണ്ടും കൂടെ കൂട്ടിയായിരിക്കും ചോദിക്കുക ഫ്ലോറയും ഫോണയും. അപ്പൊ അങ്ങനെ നമുക്ക് ഫ്ലോറയുടെ കാര്യം കൂടെ എഴുതാം, which we'll see in the case of forestry division. So basically we can see that much of things with respect to Australia. Now the next most important one is neotropical. In fact, these two are the most two important regions. Neotropical region or neotropical realm. Okay. Now again, these have been formed just like somewhere like the formation of Australia. This has again splitted from Antarctica and moved northwards. These all were found in the polar part, and these all moved northward. And as it moved northward, some of the phenomena that we already know has happened. Okay, several ecological and environmental changes were brought about in the form of first one, and then the formation of Andes. Andes formation was resulted in what? Aridity and degradation of environment conditions there. So from lush forest, this degraded into like grasslands like pampas and deserts like the Patagonia desert. Okay, so this has resulted into also into what? Dispersal of animals northward. As aridity was increasing, dispersal of animals to other parts. So some of the rich, the animal diversity has been lost there. Then there was the second one was the formation of Panama land bridge. So that again led to the organisms moving towards North America. Okay, and this was also associated with some dispersal towards the south also. Okay, so Panama land bridge was the second main stage in which, so you can call this to be the Great American Exchange. It is often called to be the Great American Exchange. So this land bridge was created, and at the same time, aridity is increasing, the climate is changing. So species slowly started moving towards North America. But since the connection is a two-way process, some organisms have also migrated back into the South American part from North America. Bear, horses, camels. So camels have migrated. Different type of camels has come over. So we see llama എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്ന സാധനം ഇന്ന് ഒരു camel species സൗത്തിലേക്ക് വന്നതാണ്. But then the third phenomenon has happened, that is the Pleistocene ice age has led to extinction of species in South America. Okay, so some of the largest species has led. So elephant was there, some of the horses were there. Almost all the hooved or large mammals have died. So what that huge biodiversity that was there has been destroyed by Pleistocene. So three phenomena has happened which has led to the specific conditions of or uniqueness of South American or the neotropical realm as we see it. So we have to just write that. Some of the species includes is characterized by lack of absence of primates. New World monkeys, they lack higher order monkeys or higher order mammals. That is one there. Then they have few specific species of their own kind, like bat species. Few marsupials are there, but very rich in other species like birds. You know the case of Amazon and things like that. It's very rich. So we'll just write how this particular area came into being. Okay, we'll try to write it slightly, shortly. The mammal fauna of South America today is characterized by presence of few marsupials. Is characterized by presence of few marsupials and diversity of placental mammals. Placental mammals. Okay. That are hardly known elsewhere. South America has distinct absence of food animals. Food animals. Food എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ എന്താണ് ഫൂഡിന് മലയാളം എന്താ പറയുക കൊമ്പുള്ള animals, yeah. Deer, something like deer are not present there, right? So food animals probably as a result of waves of extinction that occurred in the late Cenozoic, that occurred throughout the history. Okay. At the beginning of Cenozoic, history, at the beginning of Cenozoic period, South America continued to drift towards South America continues to drift towards continue to drift westward and northward. Continues to drift westward and northward, as a result of which several geological changes has happened, which led to environmental and ecological changes. First one, the most important was the formation of Andes. Formation of Andes, which began in the Cretaceous period. Formation of Andes led to complete interruption of westerly winds which had brought precipitation to the neotropical. Interruption of has led to interruption of westerly winds. Westerly winds. West winds. No, we have to remember, even today, this is located in the equatorial part. So earlier, the South American continent would have been in the more in the temperate region. With equator here, it would be in the temperate region where westerly winds are flowing, right? So westerly winds used to bring precipitation. This interruption of westerly winds, which had brought precipitation to the region, to the neotropical realm. This led to increased aridity. This has increased aridity and replaced rainforests and savannas with treeless grasslands and deserts. Which then led to northward dispersal of animals. Around this time, the second important event was the formation of Panama Land Bridge. Second important phenomenon has to happen was the formation of Panama Land Bridge, which allowed the exchange of the great exchange of animals between the Neotropical and Neo-Arctic realm. Some important North American mammals to be dispersed south included to be dispersed to the south included rodents, bears, elephants, etc. Elephants, camels, horses, anything can be mentioned. Horses, camels, etc. Deer. So elephant പലതരത്തിലുള്ള elephant ഉണ്ട്. അതിനകത്തൊരു mastodon elephant എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു ഗ്രൂപ്പാണ് നോർത്തിലുണ്ടായിരുന്നു, നോർത്ത് അമേരിക്കയിൽ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. So they have traveled south. At the same time, several mammals including ground sloth, opossums, anteaters dispersed towards North America from South America. Now, what happened to this after this exchange? The North American mammals which migrated were more successful in South America. Okay, the mammals which migrated to the South America was more successful because South America haven't had that much of great mammal population. It was more primitive mammal population. Also, grasslands were there. So these mammals which came from the north found, for example, deer, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ horses. All these are grass-eating beings, right? So they were more successful in South America due to friendly habitat of grasslands, as well as lesser competition. Now, the opposite happened with respect to migration from South America. Now, arrival of Pleistocene. Cost number of the arrival of Pleistocene with glaciation was number of extinctions in South America. Was number of extinctions in South America. Several species like the giant armadillo, horses, elephants, and all other food mammals became extinct. Okay. That's the history of. That's why we see large mammals are to be absent in this neotropic region also. So characteristics we will write. Few characteristics of neotropical region we will write. It is the richest zoogeographical region of the world. It's the richest geographical region of the world, but except for mammals. With respect to mammals, a few points can be written about the neotropical realm mammals. Presence of New World monkeys, various kinds of New World monkeys like uh, cappuccino monkey, howler monkey, squirrel monkey. So a couple of names can be, one or two names can be remembered. That's it. So cappuccino monkey can be mentioned, howler monkey can be mentioned, squirrel monkey can be mentioned. These are some of the words. So presence of New World monkeys. New World is because it is a specific group. New World refers to the newly found world. So that is North and South America. And then second point is higher order primates are absent. So the apes, orangutan, these kind of higher order primates are absent in the South America and are found only in the old world. Some of the unique mammals of South America include carnivores like civets, anteaters. These are insectivores. Civets are carnivores. In wild, there is general absence of food animals. There is a general absence of food animals. Sheep, goat, cattle, horses, etc. are not found. Some of the mammals should also be included like marsupials and armadillos are also present. So ഇതൊക്കെ ഒന്ന് ഫാക്ച്വലായിട്ട് പഠിക്കാൻ ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് സെർച്ച് ചെയ്ത ഇമേജസ് ഒക്കെ ഒന്ന് കാണാം അപ്പത്തിന് ഒരു ഐഡിയ ആവും. Some of the unique bat varieties include vampire bats, rich in the South American realm is rich in bat varieties. Unique one is vampire bats. Vampire bats. This region is also rich in bird varieties with about 24 families of endemic birds and much more cosmopolitan birds. As for insecta variety, this region is very biodiverse, as we know, it's the case of Amazon forest, all these things. So that's it for the neotropical region. We have mainly accounted for the reason as to why there is uniqueness, the historical process, and some of the specific characteristics of the region. Unique characteristics of the region have been seen. Now, on top of this, we can always write the common thing that we know, like the type of vegetation that is found there, the type of human activities that is found there, which we study elsewhere in the syllabus. Like, for example, biomes. Biomes are studied in the biogeography itself, but as a separate topic. So you can talk about the different biomes in the neotropical realm. See, you can talk about the rainforest, which is again very rich in species diversity. You can mention that you have similarly different biomes, even different biomes like savanna vegetation is there, steppe vegetation in the form of pampas, desert vegetation is there in South America. So all those can be mentioned to enlarge your answer. We are just talking about the unique factors that is found in this part. Okay, so write a couple of words. We'll directly write about Ethiopian realm, otherwise we'll not be able to finish. The next one is Ethiopian realm, which is the African part, which is characterized again by what? Large variety in the form of on the tropical region, and there is different type of biomes which have different type of species. So even to the African or the Ethiopian part, there is tropical, subtropical, and temperate landscape present in the continent. So gives them a wide variety of animal assemblies. So we'll just write Ethiopian realm. In the Mesozoic period, Africa was located at the center of the Gondwana land. Gondwana land Gondwana land and had both temperate and tropical ecozones. Center of Gondwana and had temperate and tropical ecozones. As later Africa drifted northwards, it came under the influence of the subtropical high pressure belt, which further led to the degradation of temperate vegetation. Degradation of temperate vegetation. Some of it, however, some of the temperate vegetation, however, found refuge. Some of the temperate vegetation, however, found refuge in the highlands of Africa and the Cape region. Cape region is Africa, South Africa, the Cape of Africa, Cape region. So temperate vegetation is by and large absent from Africa. Later, Africa experienced tectonism. Later, Africa experienced tectonism, which led to the upliftment of Eastern Africa. So earlier at this point of time, like you have a lot of rainforest. Rainforest and savanna and desert condition. So later, Africa experienced tectonism and upliftment, which led to increase in dryness, increase in aridity in Africa, and then to the degradation of tropical rainforest ecosystem in the eastern part. Degradation of the tropical rainforest ecozone in the eastern Africa. Thus, large part of Africa, which was earlier a tropical forest and temperate forest, was replaced by. Thus, large part of Africa was replaced by deciduous vegetation, which further degraded to form, which further degraded into a savanna vegetation. Such a landscape, such an ecozone became highly suitable for the large grazing animals. It is plants, it is grass, so there is so much of things to eat, so much of fodder to eat, suitable for the large grazing animals and to the carnivores which were dependent upon the grazing animal, This attracted large mammals. Which had originated in the Euro-American continent. This has attracted the large mammals evolved in the Euro-American continent to be dispersed into the south, to disperse to the south into Africa. Okay, so that's how the biodiversity, the rich diversity with respect to mammal species. have occurred. But otherwise, like earlier, forested region ആയിരുന്നു നമ്മുടെ ആമസോണിനെ പോലെ ഒക്കെ എന്താണ് ബയോഡൈവേഴ്സിറ്റി കാര്യമായിട്ട് ഉണ്ടാകേണ്ട ഒരു റീജിയൻ ആയിരുന്നു. ബട്ട് ബിക്കോസ് ഓഫ് ദി ഡിക്ലൈൻ or the degradation of the forest system, the ecosystem, that has declined. That biodiversity has declined. Rather, it was then replaced by large mammals. Okay. And these mammals, which speciated Africa, later got dispersed into the Oriental realm. It got dispersed into the Oriental realm through the land bridge, through the Arabian land bridge. Okay, write a few characteristics. We'll quickly write a few characteristics of the Ethiopian realm. The realm is dominated by large animals, wide variety of grazing, hood mammals like elephants, giraffe, old world monkeys, horses, zebra, wild buffalo, anything you can write. So നമുക്കറിയാവുന്ന ഒരു ഏരിയ ആണ് ആഫ്രിക്ക. So you can talk about elephants there, you can talk about giraffe, zebra, you can talk about buffalo, wild buffaloes, hippopotamus. So thus goes on the list of large mammals that is found in the Ethiopian realm. So you can write that. Carnivores are dominated by. So deer is normally missing in Africa. Okay, that is one character you can write. Deers are missing among the herbivores of Africa. Carnivores are dominated by cat family, which has cheetah, leopards, etc. Also, it is also a species of lions are also found in the Ethiopian realm. As for birds, there is lesser endemism of birds in Africa, and mainly cosmopolitan birds are found. Obviously, the reason are birds are anyway high mobility is there, and because the lands are very close by, birds will be flying here and there. So endemism is low, and birds are mainly cosmopolitan in nature. Ethiopian realm also includes the islands of Madagascar, which has similar habitat of forest and grassland like Africa. But has limited higher order mammals. Similar habitat of forest and grasslands like Africa, but has limited higher order mammals. And are more rich in reptiles, amphibians, and insecta. Reptiles, amphibians, insecta, which have greater dispersal abilities. Okay, then we'll write a few more, not on Oriental realm, the Southeast Asian and Indian part, Oriental one. The Oriental realm includes Southeast Asia and India as its subregions. Though India has its geographical origin in Gondwana land, southern Gondwana. Little sign of the Gondwanan fauna is remaining today. So marsupials, all these things were replaced by the higher order mammals which came into Indian subcontinent after collision. Okay. So just write that. With respect to animals, the Indian realm originally had more preventive. The Indian realm originally had more primitive marsupials and placentals. However, these early life forms became extinct. After, as a result of competition from Asian placentals that would have entered India after collision. Asian placentals from the Asian part which would have entered after collision. As the collision has resulted in the formation of land bridges, which later led to interchange of mammals between Africa and India. As a result, majority of mammals found in the Ethiopian realm are also represented in the Oriental realm. Much of animals found in the Ethiopian realm are also found in the Oriental realm. However, nearly in every case, each group is represented by a different genre in the two areas. For example, African rhinos, elephants, etc. are of different genre from their counterparts in Asia. Asian lion, African lion, Asian elephant, African elephant. Okay. Also, with respect to within the Oriental realm, change in climate, particularly precipitation, has played an important role in distribution of animals in Oriental region. Comparatively drier climatic regions of Indian subcontinent has allowed development of more open forests and grasslands resulting in the presence of grazing animals such as horses. Grazing animals such as horses, which are not much found in the Southeast Asian or Indonesian part of Oriental realm. So I think the characteristics can be written by ourselves, like presence of mammals. Large mammals include like animals of different types, rhinos, lion, tiger, etc. are found. Unlike African realm, India has presence of deer, which has arrived from the Paleo or the Arctic realm. Large carnivores are present. Number of birds are abundant. Birds are abundantly found. Okay. Okay, that much can be written about the part. So although like when we say like the Indian realm is rich by these species, it is in comparison to other parts like Eurasia or Eurasian part, it is not as much as rich in the higher order animals like the case of say the steppe region where there is a lot of horses are found, or the African region where bigger carnivores are found. So that much of things are not found. These were these were migrating to Indian subcontinent only. So they are found in lesser number, but still, nevertheless, they are found in India, right? So large variety of snakes and lizards are there. So that is not required for us. Like few things need to be dealt with. There is Ethiopian. These three realms mainly we have to focus on the New World. But we liked a few things about. I'll also like to add a few things about the Hollow Arctic. We'll take the Neo Arctic and Paleo Arctic together. Hollow Arctic. Okay. So in comparison to the complexity of southern hemisphere, geological southern hemisphere, in contrast to the complexity of geographical history of southern hemisphere, northern hemisphere offers a more simplified picture. The two continents of North America and Eurasia have never been far apart in their geographical history, geological history. They were always together, right? Sorry? Yeah. The two continents of North America and Eurasia have never been far apart. So if you look at the history, like as you see the Gondwana land, the fragmentation of Gondwana land to Africa, Asia, Eurasia, Africa, India, Australia, South America, they have traveled much far away from each other. But the Laurasia as such, the North America and Europe has more or less remained together. Even now, when you look at it, if you look at from the Bering Strait perspective, they are really close together, right? Even in the Atlantic, it is wide apart, but in the Pacific, they are close together. So they have not been far away from each other. They have always been connected to the presence of land bridges and shallow seas and islands. We can also add islands. As a result of these connections, they have developed, these regions have developed a common history of flora and fauna, and hence can be combined and classified together as boreal or hollow Arctic regions. As both of these continents experienced Pleistocene extinction, They have also experienced the reduction of biodiversity of mammals. For example, mammoth was there earlier, not there anymore. In North America, again, several other species have been extinct, has gone extinct. So we'll write that. However, the Cenozoic period Cenozoic period saw the separation of these continents from each other as sea level rose. And has led to some kind of species diversity, due to which some geographies classify them into Neo-Arctic and Paleo-Arctic. So not connected anymore. Like at certain points of history, there was like connected to the Aleutian Islands. For example, you can take the Aleutian Islands as stepping stones between these two regions. Obviously, when sea level goes down, these regions will be connected. When sea level comes up, these regions will not be connected together. So that's write a few characteristics of Palearctic. Palearctic is characterized by the presence of various antelopes, sheep, goats, etc. Wild horses are also present in good numbers. Several carnivores of cat varieties are found. Siberian tiger, Siberian leopard are found. Primates are found predominantly in the Chinese and Japanese regions. Birds are mostly of cosmopolitan nature, which has the habit of long distance migration with changing seasons. On the other hand, Neo-Arctic, if you look at Neo-Arctic, several animals which are similar to Paleoarctic are found. For example, bison, European bison, American bison, two are there. On the other hand, wild horses are not found. That is one special feature about that. Wild horses are not found in the Neo-Arctic region. Some peculiar animals include pouched animals like pouched rat, opossum, raccoons, which are not found in Paleoarctic. Pouched rats, opossum, raccoons, which are not found in Paleoarctic. Why? Because they have migrated from which are animals migrated from South America. Reptiles are more in number, more numerous than the Paleoarctic region. Various varieties of reptiles like lizards, snakes, crocodiles are found in the Neo-Arctic realm. Okay, so broadly speaking, we know about the different zoogeographical regions. Okay, so we've seen the zoogeographical regions. Couple of more names can be used, that's all. But നമുക്കത് കൂടുതലും എന്താണ് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞ പല പല ഡയമെൻഷൻസ് മിക്സ് ചെയ്തിട്ടാണ് നമുക്കൊരു ആൻസർ എഴുതാൻ പറ്റുക. ഇത് കൂടുതൽ പേരുകൾ ഓർത്തു വെക്കുക എന്നുള്ളത് പ്രാക്ടിക്കൽ അല്ല. സോ യു ക്യാൻ റിമെമ്പർ കപ്പിൾ ഓഫ് നേംസ്, എസ്പെഷ്യലി the presence or absence of some unique species. Uniqueness can be attributed to maybe to the presence of some species or to the absence of some species. So that can be remembered. Okay. Now, as far as the next one we have to look at is the floristic regions. Okay. So write a few things about the floristic regions. Floristic regions have developed along with the faunistic regions. As a result of geological and environmental changes that have occurred. However, it is difficult to explain the biogeography of flora due to reasons, including very large variety of families of flowering plants are found. Large variety of flowering plants are found, along with wide variety, along with lack of soil records, unlike animals which have hard parts, right? Bones are found. However, some generalization can be done. Some generalization can be done on the basis of families which display endemic, cosmopolitan, and disjunct distribution. So now, if you look at the evolution, one of the beginning of the classification was provided by somebody known as Engler, but we are not going to look into it in much detail. We are looking the standard classification that is used is by a geographer called Newbigin. So Newbigin recognized 5 regions of the world. As part of what you call as floristic kingdoms. Okay, so he included Holo-Arctic, Mediterranean, Paleotropical, Intertropical, and Austral. Okay, so this was a classification given by him, but again, then some of the modification was later done by other people, and mostly we use a classification that is a 5 kingdom classification by somebody called as Takajan. So his classification is the most commonly used one, which include again the Holo-Arctic, also known as boreal climate, boreal. That's the, you know what you call as the coniferous tree landscape that you find that is used. Similarly, you have the other regions like Paleotropical, again, Neotropical, which is the the South America, Paleotropical, Neotropical. Then you have the Cape Kingdom. So that was one specific one that was introduced. That is a Cape region of South America, Cape region. Similarly, you have the Australian region, and one more thing, that is Antarctic Kingdom, which is including of the southern South America, Antarctica, and part of New Zealand. So this was the classification that is mostly used, Takhtajan's classification. So if you are asked a question about this particular one, you can go for the Takhtajan classification. So we'll briefly look into the different regions which are found there under this classification. Okay. So if you have to just draw the map of this one, this would again ഇതിനകത്തൊക്കെ പല തരത്തിലുള്ള classification ഉണ്ട്. People have different opinion, different classifications are used. Nevertheless, so if you have to look at the boreal one, would be this region. This would be the boreal region. Then you have the Paleotropical. In between, you have the Cape region. Okay, so you have the Neotropical, which is till this point. Then you have the Antarctic, this part of the world, that is Antarctic. Some part of New Zealand is there, and you have the Austral Kingdom. So this would be the rough picture, rough diagram of the floristic regions. Of it, this Cape is the one that is different. Cape only, Cape Kingdom, a different one. Paleotropical is, both of them are combined together to explain the tropical landscape of old world. And differently, new world is there, that is a Neotropical. So this is a basically classification used for floristic region. So we'll see that too in a small details. So again, as I said, there are different views to it. So there later somebody geographer called Cox Cape, and Cox Cape criticism like Cape Kingdom is inconsistent. There is not, Cape Kingdom is nothing but a Mediterranean type of climate found in the southern part of Africa, or the southern Africa. So that was one criticism given by them. So he included 5 regions again in the form of Africa as a whole. Then you had the Indo-Pacific region. So he was giving mostly political geographical names, South American, and he combined Australian in the form of Australia plus New Zealand, and he gave the idea of Hollow Arctic. That was the same thing. So 2 differences was made. One was this one, and the other was African. So this was Cox classification, which was somewhere given in 2001. Takhtajan's was given in about 1970s. So these are the 2 differences, 2 different perspectives to this. We can see that. We can see. Okay, so Cape is a different point, and Antarctica is again a different point. Antarctica കാര്യം എന്ത് ചെയ്യണം എന്നുള്ളതിലും കേപ്പിന്റെ കാര്യം എന്ത് ചെയ്യണം എന്നുള്ളതിലുമാണ് ഫ്ലോറിസ്റ്റിക് കിങ്ഡത്തിന്റെ കാര്യത്തിൽ ഒരു ഡിബേറ്റ് ഉള്ളത്. ബാക്കി കേസസ് റിമെയിൻസ് ദ സെയിം, മോർ ഓർ ലെസ് ദ സെയിം, റൈറ്റ്? Okay, so then we have to write a few things about the different realms. Okay, we'll start with the boreal one. The boreal forested region. Okay. See, boreal can be classified into three sub-regions. What is the Arctic alpine region? Second one is the temperate region, and the third one is the subtropical Mediterranean region. These are the three regions. This is comprised of three regions have three type of vegetation patterns. We know, like the Arctic alpine was the where you find two kind of things, that is vegetation mostly consisting of mosses and lichens. Lichens is that. So these are high altitude areas where these grasses are found, plus conifer trees. Conifer trees are found. So if you talked about, see, one thing about the, what do you call as the floristic kingdom, is about you have to just describe the biomes that is there. Okay, so boreal forest, you will say there will be three kind of ones, that is tundra vegetation. So അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് നമുക്ക് അധികം ഒത്തിരി ഡീറ്റെയിൽ ആയിട്ട് പഠിക്കേണ്ട കാര്യമില്ല. We can manage it with the biomes that we study. Tundra vegetation would be there, coniferous vegetation or the taiga vegetation would be there, and then the deciduous forest of temperate region. This would be coming under these two headings, Arctic and temperate, and then we'll also have the Mediterranean Mediterranean what you call as Mediterranean vegetation. These would be combining to form the boreal characteristics. Okay, now this we see about the coniferous trees. Then the spread was from all these things developed in the North America and then spread to the Eurasia or the Paleo-Arctic part, and because of that the varieties are more, biodiversity is more in North America. In the these two categories, especially in the temperate vegetation part. Okay, Arctic alpine was refuge areas, like climate change when extreme, but before the what you call as the ice age, these were found in Arctic alpine. With ice age, these things spread to different parts of the world, and when ice age has ended, these type of vegetation has found its refuge in the high altitude. So in the tundra region, and this can also be seen in the high altitude regions of India, like Himalayas. The Arctic or alpine vegetation, that is Arctic region, pinne high altitude regions മാത്രമേ നമുക്ക് ഈ type of vegetation കാണാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. Okay, mostly the tundra vegetation. Then you have the taiga vegetation, which is found in the Siberian part, in the Eurasian part. So these two has come from the temperate lands of North America, and it has spread to South America. Now the Mediterranean vegetation and subtropical vegetation can be seen in the case of Asif, like the the three families. That is, the Mediterranean family is there, Mediterranean climate type. Then the steppe climate type, which is characterized by grassland. Here this would be shrubland, and the China type, which is again a mix of boreal plus deciduous forest. That's a transition zone between the tropical and temperate climatic region. So again, the same thing. Vegetation is nothing. Vegetation is always representation of the climate. എന്ത് ക്ലൈമറ്റ് ആണ് അവിടെയുള്ള അതിന്റെ ടൈപ്പ് ഓഫ് വെജിറ്റേഷൻ കിട്ടും. സോ ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് ബേസിക്. നമുക്ക് അതിനകത്ത് കൂടുതൽ കാര്യമായിട്ടൊന്നും പറയാനില്ല. പ്ലാന്റ്സിന്റെ കാര്യത്തിലാണ് കുറെ കൂടെ, അല്ല ആനിമൽസിന്റെ കാര്യത്തിലാണ് കുറെ അധികം ഫാക്ടേഴ്സ് വരുന്നത് ഇൻഫാക്ട്. സോ plant variety mostly is a function of the climate. Okay, so this much of things can be remembered. Three categories are there: Arctic alpine, temperate, and subtropical or Mediterranean climate. So that's the basis of in which we can understand the boreal climate. Right, now generally biodiversity is less. Then you have, because it's a temperate region. Now we have the paleotropical region. Paleotropical region used to be the part of Gondwana land. Okay, so flora emerged in two different ways. Basically, in Africa, if you look at, you can see tropical as well as temperate vegetation. But as when you move into it, as the continent drifted, the type of flora that was found changed. Different floras emerged. So Africa, what would be the case? Africa, if you tropical rainforest can be seen, savanna vegetation can be seen, and also you can also see what besides savanna you can also see desert kind of vegetation. So you have a fair idea about what is the nature of paleotropical region. Now paleotropical region not only consists of Africa, there is Asia also. Now which one has higher biodiversity? Obviously Africa has higher biodiversity because it has on the one hand just tropical rainforest, on the other hand it has different biomes itself, savanna, desert, so it will be more biodiverse. So അത്ര കാര്യങ്ങളേ ഉള്ളൂ, വേറെ ഒന്നുമില്ല. Whatever being asked we have to just write on the biomes. Okay, now you can easily do that. Tropical rainforest we can talk about, there is 3 canopies, lack of grass cover due to low penetration of what sunlight. Now if you look at savanna you can answer what? Low precipitation, tree less, or tree now is less in number, so you have the more grasses growing in the region. So this is how you go about again the landscape that is given. So paleotropical. Now what I'm mentioning is that you have to just study biomes. Once you understand the classification, you have to just study the type of biomes and just give that same detail if a question is asked on a particular forestic region. Forestic regions ചോദിക്കൽ കുറവാണ്, അത് ചോദിക്കാറില്ല because the question is not very complex. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ ഒരു സുവോഗ്രഫിക്കൽ റീജിയൻ, ഫ്ലോറിസ്റ്റിക് അല്ല ഫോണിസ്റ്റിക് റീജിയൻസിൽ നിന്നാണ് കൂടുതൽ ചോദ്യങ്ങളും ചെയ്യുക. ഓക്കെ, നമുക്ക് കേപ്പ് കിങ്ഡത്തെ കുറിച്ച് ജസ്റ്റ് ഒരു നോട്ട് എഴുതിയേക്കാം. അത് മാത്രമാണ് ഇതിന് പ്രത്യേകതയുള്ള ഒരു സംഭവമുള്ള കേപ്പ് കിങ്ഡം. Takhtajan classified Cape as a different kingdom. Takhtajan classified Cape as a different kingdom. Although the area is very small, with only about 11 endemic families. With about only 11 endemic families. But however, there are families of trees which are found nowhere else in the world. Nowhere else in the world. Called as cryophytes, cryptophytes. So these are trees where their seed grows under the soil. Okay. നമ്മുടെ ചില പൂക്കളൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടല്ലോ, ഡാലിയ എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞ പൂക്കൾ, where the seed grows beneath the soil. That's one thing. It's a basically variation of a Mediterranean type of climate. So he misunderstood. I think the criticism is that Takhtajan misunderstood it for a specific floristic region. So these are according to him and has an island-like characteristics. These are according to him an island. This region, according to him, has an island-like characteristics. Thus, these trees are thought to be remnants of earlier. These are thought to be remnants of earlier, more widespread temperate vegetation of Africa. Which found refuge in the Cape region once the climate became warmer. Okay, these are basically species of garden plants which are sclerophyllous in nature. Again, if you are going for neotropical, we can say use the same thing. You can draw the map and identify the main regions in the neotropical region. So say we go for this one, we can identify the Amazon basin and talk about this is the rainforest part. Then you have the Llanos, which is a savanna type of grassland. So you can talk about Pampas, which is temperate grassland. You have the Patagonia desert. You have the southern Chile, which you have the Mediterranean climate. You can talk about that. Then you have the Chilean desert. Also mentioned that. So this way you can mention, like explain what all the things are there. And as far as evolution is concerned, we have already in the zoological part, we have identified how this evolution happened. So based on that, you have tropical Gondwana type of forest or vegetation and temperate Gondwana type of vegetation that is found there. Okay, so that's what we can talk about the neotropical region would be enough for this. So the question is asked, you talk about the biome, the nature of the biomes that is present there. And for the history, we have the history because the Andes was rising and the aridity has increased, and that aridity has increasing has led to degradation of the rainforest or the temperate vegetation that was there. That led to formation of savanna type of vegetation and the temperate grassland type of vegetation. And eventually, in the southern part, you can see a development of desert. So that is what we are expected to do in floristic part. Not much of questions from their part, from that part. So just focus on the biomes part. Biomes briefly we'll discuss biomes tomorrow, but biomes are mostly known to us. GS details on biomes. Fine. There is no need for too much detailed study in these topics like geomorphology, climatology. നമുക്ക് കുറച്ച് ഡെപ്തി പഠിക്കണം. ബയോജോഗ്രഫി അത്രയും ഡെപ്തിലോട്ട് പോയിട്ട് ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ യു പി എസ് സി ചോദിക്കാറില്ല. കുറച്ച് often repeated ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഏരിയ എന്നുള്ള ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ആണ് യു പി എസ് സി റൊട്ടേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് ചോദിക്കുക. So we have to know basically a couple of few facts, the evolution of it, and then we can safely navigate the topic. Okay. Factual, yeah, I know. It's just more factual one. I think it is fine now. Just revise it, and as to like how to retain the names, familiarize yourself with the photos, the images, and then note it down. നമുക്ക് കുറച്ച് പേര് ഇപ്പൊ എനിക്കാണെങ്കിൽ എല്ലാ പേരോടും എനിക്ക് ഓർമ്മയില്ല. ഞാൻ കുറച്ചും കൂടെ ബുക്ക് നോക്കി ഡിക്റ്റേറ്റ് ചെയ്തതാണ്. എനിക്ക് പേരുകൾ ഓർമ്മ നിൽക്കാറില്ല. So what I do is that before exam I'll collect the pain. Like marsupialsനൊപ്പം ഒപ്പോസവും കങ്കാരും we can remember, but anteaters അങ്ങനത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങളൊന്നും അത്ര മനസ്സിലോട്ട് വരത്തില്ല. ആർമലെഡ്ലോസിന്റെ കാര്യമൊന്നും മനസ്സിലോട്ട് വരാറില്ല. So that we can basically brush up just before 1 week of the exam, or just on the night of the exam, and just go and write there. That will be there. That will be all. Classification is very important. That needs to be understood. Fine. Okay. Anything to add? Okay. So we will conclude, and we'll meet tomorrow. Tomorrow, the first part we'll finish biogeography. Then we'll move to environmental geography. See a few concepts there. That'll be all. Okay. All right then. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good night. Good night.
Thank you, sir.